There's kind of this stereotype with medicine and stories, in that it's always very hard to get down. It's like considered the worst thing ever in most stories of trying to digest it, which is why there's a song about a spoonful of sugar helping the medicine go down. But the thing is that that's not really the case with poison. In fact, for poison to go down, it mostly is just need to blend in with whatever it's in. It has to be indistinguishable or not cause any bad reflex. Because then, if it tastes wrong or is clearly marked that this is bad for you, most people aren't going to take it. Now, of course, there are things like darts or venom or stingers or whatever where it's supplied kind of just through another source, so that it doesn't really matter what it tastes like. But again, it kind of needs to just blend in or be sweet even for someone to take it. Now, we kind of know this from stories or from some of our own experiences. Generally, the weird poison is from stories, but most of us have probably gotten stung or something where it's like we either needed to get venom or we had the reaction to venom that we've seen. So we know of poison. But yet, there's a poison we often miss, and that is the poison of the mind and soul. And what I want to talk about today specifically is the kind of sweet poison versus bitter medicine, in that what someone wants to hear may not always be what they need to hear. And again, we often have the saying of people wanting us to tell them the truth or to be honest with them. Yet that's not often what they really want. It's like someone who asks, does this make me look fat? It's not actually what they're looking for. They actually don't want someone to say that, yes, that makes you look fat, unless there are different outfits and so forth. But it is semantics there, and it then preference of a person. But again, it's like there are times and questions where it's like, do you actually want the truth? And most people would probably say no. There's kind of this thing of, if you ask someone if, well, not really if you ask someone, but you tend to almost see this in action where it's like most people want to feel like a good person or feel good about themselves rather than actually do the things that make them a good person or tend to encourage them to feel good about themselves. They want that affirmation and praise. The thing is, a lot of people will often end up seeking affirmation praise over anything else, even though we kind of need that balance of both praise and challenge in our lives in order to grow. And then there are people who get really discouraged, and so affirmation is good and healthy for them. And then some people do need a lot of affirmation, but some people only want that affirmation and praise. They only want to be surrounded with a bunch of yes men. They may even reject any critics entirely. So there's basically no perspective other than theirs allowed. And that's kind of the key there, is like they're kind of rejecting, they have their view of the world. They can do no wrong. They're perfect. And anything they do is perfect. And so anyone who disagrees or criticizes them must be a hater. They must be expressing hate towards them for some reason. Because how could they do anything wrong? How could they have the false perspective or have a wrong perspective? Because clearly they're perfect. So, then that's kind of exaggerated for making the point. But again, when all criticism is basically considered hate, then that kind of messes with hate in a sense, because sometimes criticism is given out of love or encouragement to see something done better. It's not really done with hate or even kind of any negative feeling whatsoever. It's done to kind of help. But then it can just be blanketed of, you disagree with me, you don't like what I did, this person is a hater. And it's like, no, that's not the case. It's just one of those things where it's like you kind of see this in action all the time, where it's like people just go around calling anyone who disagrees with them haters, but it's like that lessens hate in a sense. It makes it kind of almost null and void to just call everyone a hater when they're just disagreeing with you. So it's just something to kind of think about there. Now, on the other side of that, we can probably do to add a bit of honey to the medicine we try to give. Again, most people are very good at complaining. Some people almost make it an Olympic sport in how truthfully they can complain and how well they can complain and what they can complain about. But the thing about that complaining is that so many of us are focused on the negative that we forget the positive. And the thing is that by focusing on what someone has done positively first, we are actually able to kind of make it more easy to digest when we have a complaint or a criticism that we want to see addressed. So by saying, oh, I love how you do this, I love how you do that, it makes them more open to hear, but I think this should be done better, and they may actually take it into account. Of course, sometimes there are the things where all we can think to say positive is, well, that was unique. And then there are times where it's like that, but then it's like finding something positive to focus on rather than just focusing straight on the complaint and so forth. And also starting with it first can actually make it more likely to actually be received by the person you're attempting to give it to. But then, sometimes the only way someone is going to accept something is if you are direct with them, because we can often dance around subjects and not really get anywhere, and people can just keep thinking they're fine, but again, sometimes you have to be direct with someone. And there's this line from a song, Super Trooper by Super Chit, I believe it is. And it's, true friends, they stab you in the face. I know most of us are familiar with the term of being stabbed in the back, generally by false friends or so forth. And it's a betrayal and so forth, unexpected and so forth where we weren't expecting it. But here it's kind of different because it's like a friend won't gossip about you, a true friend won't gossip about you or talk behind your back or undermine you. If they have a problem with you, they can be direct with you. And again, some people need that. They need that direct kind of line of communication where you're face to face with them and it's like, you are the problem with what you're experiencing. And then you can basically talk to them and be like, okay, now we can take you to see a 12-step program, see a counselor, deal with a pastor, a therapist, a psychologist, an exorcist, whatever you need, I can help with that. But first we need to acknowledge that there is a problem. It's kind of the staging the intervention. And the reason a friend can do that is that the friend has already given honey. They've already invested in a relationship. They've already provided stuff that they can make a withdrawal upon the person. So again, it's like there's stuff there that means they can be direct with someone. They aren't just coming out of nowhere. They aren't this random person online, number 276, who has suddenly decided that this other person is completely wrong and they will prove it automatically, and they've now established a vendetta to try to argue their point no matter what. And then arguing online doesn't really get us anywhere because it does kind of remove the face-to-face communication. It does remove that kind of reflection and a lot of subtext and so forth and nuance to the subject. And then sometimes those random online people aren't actually going by their real names and they're trying to be taken serious, but it's like, who are you? So it's just something to really think about and kind of think about and address. And it's like, some people just want to hate on other people. And then not everybody is going to like us. Not everybody is going to like this other person or whatever. There isn't a way to get like 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Someone may always find something to complain about or to just be like, people just don't get along, and that's perfectly fine. But then sometimes we're so content that, or convinced that everybody has to see things our way that we can't really just be like, just let it go, just roll on. This doesn't completely affect me, or I can live with someone disagreeing with me. And I think another key with that is that before we give out medicine or give out criticism, we must be willing to take medicine or criticism ourselves. We must be open to criticism before we can criticize. We must be open to changing before we can change. In the Bible, it talks about before you remove a speck out of your neighbor's eye, you must first remove the plank from your own eye. And sometimes we have very major issues that are getting in the way of our sight or affecting our perception on things that may even be causing us to see different things. It's like you may be trying to remove a split, but you're whacking them back and forth with the plank. So it's like, it doesn't really work out too well. So then there's things where it's like, we probably have our own issues and we should focus on them and make sure we're improving first before we're trying to deal with other people, and also be open to other people helping us as well when we're trying to help other people. So it's just something to really consider. But in a way, I think this kind of concept with sweet poison and bitter medicine is where stories in life tend to intersect. because thinking about it, let's watch for tastes in our lives where we're looking for things where we want to hear, where we have things where we want to, that we want to hear versus what we actually may need to hear, and where we're allowing like the sweet poison in versus the actual bitter medicine that we need to take in order to actually improve and grow in our lives. And in turn, this gives us insight into characters, goals, and enemies and hindrances in stories, where it's like the enemy could be lulling a person down the wrong path because they're saying all the right words and giving all the right phrases to someone. And even just asking the question of what does this character want to hear versus what do they need to hear can actually provide insight into how this character should act in the story and how they might act and how they might have to grow and change and how their character develop in the story. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. So now feel free to share yours in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, you can like and share it so others may enjoy as well. Anyway, I'm Jonah, and you've been watching Lions Mane Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons of them. Thank you for listening to my musings. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.